Mark and I are the design team that are working with Danny on fleshing out what the opening ceremonies is. So it's not design in the sense of, what color is the carpet, even though that is part of the job, but it is design in the sort of the best possible way, which is conceptual. When we do films, they obviously have their own attractions to doing them and creating world and stuff, but the Olympics is sort of like, just kind of the grand poobah of everything in terms of design, I think.
The first thing we did, we stood in the space. When you go into the stadium, it has the same capacity as the other stadiums, but it's like half the size. And it's almost like it's a miraculous sort of feeling, because you think actually it feels really intimate. So when someone is standing in the space, although you're quite a long way away, somehow you're not that far away from the other people.
Danny was very keen to make sure that everybody who's in the stadium has equal, if not a more memorable experience than they have had in previous opening ceremonies, where it seems a lot of it is geared towards the television audience. So coming from film, it's very exciting to work with him on that, because he's obviously thinking very cinematically a lot of the time in his regular vocabulary and thinking about the bigger picture for the world audience on television. But he's also very populist in his daily philosophy, and so he wanted to make sure that we remember and really explode everything we can do in the stadium for that seated audience in there. Danny Boyle was employed to kind of execute a vision for the Olympics in Britain, to introduce Britain to the world and welcome the athletes to here. But there are certain boxes you have to tick in terms of Olympic protocol to make sure that at the end of the day, it is a ceremony. And there's certain ritual that comes with that to make it feel like a ceremony. So that's part of it as well. It's not just, here, have all this money and do whatever you want.
It's been a fascinating experience. I've enjoyed a lot of it, but we've had to obviously pitch and re-pitch to governments and ministers and people like that who, it's interesting to hear their thoughts on stuff, but it's like an interesting experience to have to sort of show that to people that don't normally get involved in those creative processes. Normally on a film, there's none of that. The producers are in from the get-go, and it's their project, their jewel, and all these people have different needs and different requirements of the show. So hanging on to your vision has been an interesting experience.
For me, I'm American. Just the journey that I ended up taking to be in this seat right now is because when I had a decision to make a decade ago about where I wanted to sort of pursue my creative pursuits, Britain was so interesting to me, so much more at that point than my own country, that I really feel strongly about what Britain has to offer to the rest of the world, and how it sort of is a leader in so many cultural areas that inspire the rest of the world. And so I feel like, as the resident non-British person, I'm very excited that we're going to squeeze as much of that out as we can, I think.
Speaking from a perspective as a British sporting supporter, whatever you call yourself, myself, it's just tough, because although we invented football, rugby, cricket, table tennis, tennis, golf, basketball, I can't remember them all, but there's a few more. So we invented the rules, but we are not the greatest at participating in them, in other words. So we do touch on, not in like a sort of prescriptive list way, but gelled into our story, we touch on the sports that are important to us as a nation. Hopefully it's a sort of intimate story of the idiosyncratic things of the British Isles, and that's humour and theatre and drama and passion, comedy, love stories, all these things are the themes. So we do have some awe and wonder moments, but within that we have a thread that's more dramatic, maybe. It's not thousands of people making big shapes.
We want to make sure everybody, no matter what their age or religious denomination or where they are in the world could kind of experience this as a universal sense of wonderment. So it's not just a heady, high art experience or something that's much more pedestrian than that. We want to bridge all those things and make it very democratic. If you look at Danny's films, he's got quite a youthful bent to everything. And I think that looking at things through the eyes of a child is, I used it as a specific example because it's almost like the first level of, I think, what will impress. And it's also, it's what legacy you want to leave with having produced this show is a generation probably of young people who aren't like, oh, a bunch of old people just are telling us what we should think are important ideas about the British Isles, you know. It should just inspire the future, I think.